6 months ago, I have posted a video on this channel about why I have decided to leave California after living there for 30 years. I came to America as an immigrant, and I loved California for many, many years. And things have changed to the point where I've decided it was time to go. Now, it's been now a little over 6 months as I have kind of traveled around the country for a new place to live. And I have found a pretty good place to live, if you ask me. I'm here in Houston, Texas, and I have posted an update about what I have found and why I thought Houston was a better place for me. And I think any decent person in the country. However, with that said, and by the way, I linked to both of the videos in the description of this one. But with that said, I have still decided that I am going to leave America for good, at least for the time being. And you're probably asking, Alex, where are you going? It's not so much where I'm going, just like with California. It wasn't that I was going to Texas or Atlanta or Georgia or whatever. It was about just getting the hell out first. And I'm going to Southeast Asia for the time being. But again, it's not really about the destination right now. Things have gotten so bad. And even as I have found a better place here, that I have to go. Now, there are two main reasons. And the second one is much bigger. And I'm going to make a separate video about it. That's why this is part one. And it's about women and what's happening with dating and the huge gap that is growing between men and women, single men and single women in America. And honestly, I'm scared to think what's actually going to happen with that. So kind of stay tuned for that video. But today I want to talk about pretty much everything else, which is sort of what this culture have become and why I found it unacceptable to the point where I'm going to leave and look for places where the culture has not been, at least yet, corrupted. So let me tell you what I mean. So first, let's talk about a few things real quick, and then I'll get to the big one. First one is personal responsibility. And people just don't take personal responsibility for anything anymore. Whether it's raising their own children or doing their jobs. And, like in the parts of the country where I'm at right now, for example, Houston, it hasn't really been a major influence just yet, but I can see it coming. I feel like what's happening here is what I've experienced in California 5 years ago. Right, those first signs. Like sometimes when you have a little bit of a scratchy throat, a bit of a sniffles, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to come down with the flu. This is kind of a thing that I'm feeling here. And it is coming from more liberal cultures, like from California, New York, and so forth. And, sort of literally the closer I am to downtown Houston, the more I'm seeing of this culture. And like I said, personal responsibility, people don't want to take, it's become normal not to take personal responsibility anymore. And I think that's a major problem in any society. For example, the way the children are being raised without personal responsibility for who you're raising, the next generation it's going to be rough. That kind of leads me into just general level of intelligence. And I don't necessarily mean like math and science, though that's for sure. I mean just even general understanding and appreciation of what being intelligent is. Facts are no longer appreciated. As a matter of fact, sometimes education, facts, reasoning looked down upon. It is like it's just weird to even say that. We're raising, the generation of, like, I feel like for the last 10, 20 years, that is much dumber than the one before. Not that the one before was that bright, and that's my generation. Our standards for education are low, and it's only getting worse. I mean, we're paying teachers nothing while everybody else gets paid much higher, and only tells you what we think about teachers. And parents don't even have tools to discipline the children. If those, even the parents who want to be good parents, one of the reasons I can't be a parent here in the United States, if I can't discipline my child, I can't perform my duties as a responsible parent. That also goes into violence. We have become a very violent society. Yes, mass shootings is one of many, many symptoms and signs of that. But listen, when our kids can lock themselves in their rooms, and adults too, and put this VR sets where they can realistically murder people for like points, and it all is very graphical, and then they come outside and go to a family restaurant, and there is essentially, MMA, which I call human cockfighting, where two people are trying to essentially kill each other, right? Until everybody goes, okay, stop now, before you actually do. And even kids can see it. There is no surprise that, somehow hurting another person in real life is really not that big of a deal to people anymore. And more people do that. So the name for this one is called gaslighting, though it's kind of vague, but essentially it's if somebody confronts you about you doing something that's not okay, whether you're not doing your job, like at your actual job, or you're not doing a good job as your parent, as a parent, or anywhere, people used to get embarrassed. People used to apologize and try to change because they knew that was wrong. But the response now is actually to go after the person who has confronted you and pointed out that you are not doing a good job at being a human being. And that is an acceptable way to operate now, right? Instead of admitting fault, taking responsibility, you flip it onto another person. Now that person has to defend themselves. Now, I know I've kind of listed this really quickly, but each of them is a major, major problem. It's been going on for a while. We all know about this. I don't think I'm surprising anybody. And yet, everyone's okay with that. Everyone is okay with degradation in our culture. And everybody joins. Everybody joins as this kind of a behavior. Which brings me to the biggest reason that's not dating reason why I want out. I'm talking about wokeness and cancel culture. And I should really mention something right now. I am not a conservative or a Republican. I am truly an independent. And actually, I was very much liberal when I was younger, but now I'm more independent. So this is not a political thing. As a matter of fact, I used to support wokeness. Wokeness used to be good. Wokeness meant that you should be considerate of other people who are in minorities, whether racial or sexual orientation. You should be considerate of other people who maybe don't have as much voice in this society. And that was a good thing. I was absolutely for it. But just like with almost everything lately, the pendulum swung so far that the way it was going, that now wokeness is basically does not accept the second opinion at all. If you go against the acceptable and sort of a standard opinion out there, you need to be canceled. You need to lose your job, and you basically need to die. If you so any second opinion now gets shut down to the point where a lot of people don't want to talk anymore, which only enforces the only opinion that's left, and it's never good. It is never good. As a matter of fact, I feel like it's catastrophic for this society that's built on democracy and critical thinking. So my next video is actually going to be about dating. and what women have essentially done to the dating culture. And I am kind of scared to make that video. Now, luckily, I don't have a corporate job, so I cannot be fired, right? This is a tiny little YouTube channel nobody cares about. But, anytime I feel like in this case, I would be criticizing women, right? And I will have facts and data and, trends that are common sense and common knowledge. But the fact that I'm criticizing a group of people, even though women are not even a minority, I am a sexist pig. I'm a misogynist, toxic masculinity and all of that. And that's it. And you can't talk anymore. I have seen people cancel all the time for saying anything, really, anything against, anything that suggests women are not perfect in the society, and a superior sort of group of our society, including women. As a matter of fact, the only, I don't really contribute to YouTubers and influencers with money at all, except for one person. It is a female who has been calling out women in America and Western women. And even though she's a woman, she's got canceled on TikTok and she got demonetized on YouTube, because guess who runs those platforms, right? Super woke people who do not allow for a second opinion. So it is a problem that I don't really see a solution for. As a matter of fact, for example, in this, the fight for women's rights and the rights of minorities have been so successful, and I was definitely part of it. I've always was on the side of equality for women, for minorities, for sexual minorities. But once again, it's just bulldozed over the common sense, and it's so far out that, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I feel like being a white straight male is essentially, I feel like a second-class citizen. By the way, every single straight white male that I asked this question in private said, oh yeah, I absolutely feel that way. We can't say anything anymore. I cannot tell a black cashier behind the counter in Chipotle that they've screwed up my order. I can't, because as soon as I say that, they say, you're racist, right? And all of a sudden, it's no longer about the shitty job that they did. It's now about me trying to defend myself that I'm not a racist. I'll give you a great example that happened to me right before I left California, which made me very much sure that I made the right decision. So this was my last week in California, and I think it was my last game that I played on my hockey team. And we all went to this taco place in Berkeley, California. And it was kind of late, and there was this young Asian girl behind the counter, and she just didn't want to do her job. She didn't want to take our order. She kind of made us, scan the menus and order through the app that wasn't working. And even though they have a cash register, she just refused. She didn't want to put the table together for all of us, even though there were table for 4 and 2, and it was empty. She just didn't want to do any of that at all. And by the way, it was a bunch of Russian dudes, and we all spoke Russian. And half of us didn't even want to order. I mean, we were hungry, but it was just so bad to the point we didn't order. And then I saw one of the guys doing something on his phone. I'm like, dude, you want to participate in conversation or what? He's like, yeah, no. As soon as I, post a 1-star review, I'm like, dude, nobody cares. This place will not. Nothing's going to happen because you post a 1-star review. He said, yeah, I'm not really posting it for other people. I'm posting it for the owner, because I have a feeling owner doesn't really know what this girl is doing. I'm like, there's a point there. I'm going to do the same thing. And in the next couple of days, the owner reached out to us and she said, hey, listen, I'm obviously disturbed by what what you're saying, what happened. But I talked to that girl. I figured out who it was because we have several shops, and she told us that you essentially were saying like racist and sexist stuff against Asian women. And I'm like, well, I would. First of all, we were speaking Russian, so even if we were, she wouldn't know that. But I'm like, we're a bunch of Jews, immigrants. I would not hang out with people who would openly say that, or in any way say that. I said, that is quite sad that this is the acceptable defense, because now I'm already defending myself, right, from not being sexist or racist, and we're no longer talking about her being a really shitty cashier and even shittier human being. Luckily, the store owner was also Asian herself and an immigrant, and she actually got quite upset about. She said, "Yeah, this is unacceptable. I don't want this for Asian people and women in general." But at the end of the day, this has happened many times recently, over and over and over again, and it's now a known defense, right? For anybody to say, "Oh, well, you're a white straight guy, right? So if you're accusing me, any type of member of a minority, you must be racist or sexist or whatever. We'll pick something. So now you have to defend yourself, and we're no longer talking about me being a shitty human being or just a bad worker." This has become acceptable, and I don't want to live here anymore because of that. And this is why I feel like a second-class citizen, because I don't get a vote in the forum of the public opinion, because it's automatically dismissed because I am privileged, straight, white male, and automatically I can lose my job, because just a pure accusation, right? A pure accusation is good enough for the society to dismiss you as a human being. That's not right. That's not right. How many times have we seen people being accused, and then later, and then just canceled, and later we realize that, oh, we have a tape now, and that's not at all what happened, right? Somebody tried to take advantage and get away from personal responsibility, right? Something I started the video with. I lost a couple of friends just this year because of the same thing. So I'll give you another quick example about the friend of mine. So this friend, he's a part of a minority. I don't even want to say it's whether racial or sexual or whatever, right? Just a part of a minority. And we were talking about, like, if it wasn't Trump or Biden running, it would be two other guys. And I told them that I hate both of them, but I would vote for that other guy. And he said, "Well, why would you vote for him?" I said, "Well, I feel like, the violence has gotten so bad that my number one priority right now is my personal security. I mean, everyone's shooting up everybody and stabbing, and I want to make sure that I'm able to protect myself if we decided to defund the police after all." And he said, "Yeah, but he's also against my rights." I said, "I totally understand it. That's why I don't like that person. But I care about my safety more than I care about anything right now." And he said, "Well, I can't be friends with someone who votes against my rights." I said, "Well, wait a second. So you want me to vote against my rights or my priorities? So and for your priorities, but it's okay for you to vote for your priorities and not my priorities? Like, how are your rights any more important than my safety? To me, it's my safety. And that's why I'm going to vote for someone who will provide something for priority." And, there are a lot of people who also have families, and they care about safety of their children much more than they care about your rights, that are actually quite not bad anymore. We're not talking about 1960s here, So you're basically saying that if I'm not 100% for everything that's important to you, while you 100% also all about what's important to you, and what's important to me is no longer important to anyone, then we can't be friends. I don't want to be friends then. I don't want to be friends. And I've known this person for like 8 years, right? I'm the same person. He knows I'm not against his rights. I've done a lot, actually. I've been an ally for a long time. But at some point, I say, well, wait a second. How about first I care about not getting shot when I go out and get some milk. So that's another thing that I have never seen happen before, where I've lost a couple of friends this way. And by the way, I'm a Jewish immigrant. You know, I think I know a little bit about, you know, being part of a minority. I'm part of 2 different minorities. But that doesn't matter. Somehow that does not matter. My minority status is not important than everybody else's. So I can't really live and tolerate this anymore. People are living in such extremes that I am tired of this. I'm tired of not being able to point out some injustices that are now going against my group of people. I just can't say anything anymore. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to live here in this country where it's now the culture. I'm going to go somewhere else where I can still speak my mind, which is right now going to be a developing country. And I'm not saying I will never come back, but I definitely not going to come back until things change. Hopefully the pendulum will swing all the way to the extreme, and I don't think it's stopped swinging yet. Maybe once it comes down to something more reasonable, it will be time to come back. But we need to tolerate each other's opinions and priorities. We can't be on the extremes anymore. So wokeness and cancel culture, I'm done with it. And I hope, for the sake of those people who are staying and can't leave. The thing is most single men who can leave right now are leaving. That's how bad it got. So my next video that I'm going to reluctantly put out is going to be about what happened with dating. And this is not even going to be personal anecdotes. This is going to be what's happening to the majority of men and women in this country. Honestly, it's amazing how even women are not happy with this immense power that they've got in terms of in a dating scene, which essentially you can see the stats are down for everything. The dating, relationships, marriages, childbirth, and all of that. It's quite sad, and I don't know what's going to happen with people who are staying, but I'm going to go. So if you're interested in that video, I will post it probably next couple of weeks, because I'm leaving in like 4 weeks. And of course, I would love to hear unlike the cancel culture and woke culture in our country, the comment section for this video will welcome everyone's comments. Now, I do know that a lot of people who have their names tied to, either have their names in their profiles or they're tied to something, will be too scared to post. And that's a shame. But I know there will be a few people who will speak up. And I'm looking forward to both sides' opinions. So until then, look for my next video, and hopefully it will help a lot of people to at least know they're not alone, and this is not some weird matrix they're living in now. So until next time,